is Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming Concepts. Teaching objectives of this chapter are evolution of programming languages, programming paradigms, and principles of object-oriented programming. Once we complete this chapter, you will be able to differentiate between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. And also you will be able to understand the various principles of object-oriented programming languages, which are very important. Children, first we will discuss the evolution of programming languages. How exactly programming languages were developed since beginning. Programming languages are broadly classified into two categories, that is low level and high level. Under low level, we have two programming languages, that is machine language, in which programmer can use only zeros and ones, and it is considered as first generation programming language. The second one is assembly language, in which programmer can use mnemonic codes, and it is considered as second generation programming language. Under high level, we have third, fourth, and fifth generation programming languages, which are very close to English language. And we will be discussing more or in detail in chapter 2. So we will go to the next part of the topic. Now we will discuss programming paradigms. Programming paradigm means an approach or style of programming that is used to classify programming languages. Their approach means the way of solving the given problem in order to write complete program. These are two types, that is POP and OOP. POP is procedure oriented programming and OOP is object oriented programming. Now we will see the differences between POP and OOP. In POP, the approach is top down, and in OOP, it is bottom up. A top down approach means in POP, the given problem or given program is divided into several smaller tasks. Then, independently, the code for or solution for these parts will be written separately. But in case of OOP, that is OOPS, the most fundamental part of the problem is solved first. Later, all those fundamental solutions will be integrated to design a complete program. So here is from low level to top level, here top level to low level. So it is a top down approach, it is bottom up approach. In case of POP, there is a limited and difficult code reusability. It is very difficult to use the code because each procedures or each functions are written separately or independently. But since the code is each functions or methods are dependent here, we can make reuse of the existing code. And also principles of object oriented programming concept supports reusing the existing code. Next, in POP we don't have any modifiers. Okay, so all the data is, or each and every data member is global, publicly available. In OOPS we have access modifiers like private, public, protected, which makes the data safe. Okay, so next is POP is less secure as compared to OOP, as it does not have any access modifier to indicate that which is private and which is public. The entire data in the POP is public. But Here, due to abstraction and these access modifiers, data can be hidden, and hence it is more secure than POP. Examples of POP are COBOL, Pascal, and Fortran, and examples of OOPs are object-oriented programming languages, examples of Java, C++, etc. Children, now we will see what are classes and objects in Java. Classes and objects are basic concepts of object-oriented programming which revolve around the real life entities. Okay. Object. What exactly an object in object-oriented programming? It is a basic unit of object-oriented programming and represents the real life entities. Here real life entities means you can look around, whatever you will be able to see, each and everything can be considered as a real life entity, like your book, your pen, your device, your mouse, okay, whatever you are using now. Okay, so that are physically available. Okay, similarly you can think about yourself as a student. Okay, that is also real life entity. As a teacher myself, I am also an object. Okay, anything or everything is treated as object in object oriented programming. Okay, so now we will see any object will have two things, that is state and behavior. Okay, any object will have its own state and behavior. State of an object is nothing but the properties, okay, or characteristics of an object. Okay, so a typical Java program, once you design or write Java program, you can create many objects which will be interacting by invoking methods. Okay, an object consists of any object of Java class will consist of state and behavior. Okay, these two are very important. So an object state is represented by attributes of an object. Okay, it is also reflects the properties or characteristics of an object. Okay, that is state. In Java program, state or attributes of an objects will be represented by using variables, and behavior in a Java program is represented by methods of an object. It also reflects the response of an object with the other objects. Okay, so whenever we are writing the program, Java program will have two things, that is state and behavior, which are nothing but which will be representing state of an object and behavior of an object. Now identity. Okay, this is also very important. Okay, class will consist of state and behavior, that is general state and behavior of an object. Now when it comes to identity, it gives a unique name to an object and enables one object to interact with the other. Okay, so once you define the class, when you will create an object of that class, okay, it will have its own name that will become the identity of that object. Okay, so here you can see in the image, if it consider dog as class. Okay, so where you will define state or attributes of a dog using variables. Okay, so here we are considering only three attributes. It is not restricted to these three. Depending on the requirement, we can define more state also. Okay, so here if you consider state of a dog will have breed, dog will have age, dog will have color. Its states are properties. Okay, so these will be defined. How will you represent these state in Java program? By appropriate or by defining appropriate variables. Okay, now you will see the behavior of a dog. Okay, dog can bark, dog can sleep, dog can eat, dog can run. Okay, so depending upon the requirement, the behaviors will be defined in the Java class. Here you can define, or we need to consider depending on the requirement of our program. Okay, so when you define a particular object of that class, when you consider an object of that class which will have these properties and behavior, that specific object, okay, so specific instance will have identity. Suppose once I define the class, I can create many objects, there is no limit. Okay, so each object will have its own name, that is called as identity. Dog1, dog2, dog3, okay, any valid name we can give. Okay, so that will become an identity. Okay, similarly, if you consider here we have considered dog as class, if we consider student as class, okay, now we will see what are all state a student can have. Okay, few we will discuss. Okay, we cannot discuss all the states. Okay, student properties, you can consider children, roll number as a student. Okay, name, class, section, group. Okay, so these states we can consider. Apart from that, behavior, what are all students will be doing as a student in the school? Attending class, playing game, writing exam, okay, participating in sports events, or participating in inter-house competitions. Okay, all those things will become the behavior. Okay, so how to consider what state you need to define and what behavior you need to define by using the method, that all depends on the requirement of the program. Okay, that time you need to decide. Okay, now identity, each and every student has his own identity. Suppose name of a student or roll number of a student. Okay, that will become the state. Okay, so that is the basic concept of object and class. Still we are going to discuss in detail about object and class in forthcoming topics. Okay, now we will go to the next topic, children. Children, now we will see the definition of class and an object. A class is a template or blueprint to create multiple objects of similar features. Each class can define the following. So class is nothing but a blueprint to create multiple objects. Okay, it's just a blueprint. So each class can define the following, means within the class what are all things are defined. Okay, so first we will see fields. Fields are variables that are represent in each object or instance of a particular class, or are variables that are global and common to all instances. Okay, fields are nothing but variables that are represented in each object. Next, it will also define methods. Methods are nothing but the procedures associated with a class which will define the behavior of an object, and fields are nothing but the attributes or state of an object. Okay, within class we will not have an object, but it represents the blueprint which will define fields and methods. Fields are nothing but variables, and the methods are nothing but procedures which defines the behavior of an object. Now we will see what is an object. An object is an identifiable entity that has its own set of data, that is attributes or state, and functions which represent behavior of an object. Example, if you consider a particular student as an object, each student will have his or her own identity and his or her own set of attributes like roll number, name, and behavior like attending school, playing sports, games, etc. Okay, so now we will see, this is an example of employee class. Okay, if you consider this is an employee class, in this fields are private string ID, public string last name. Okay, here we have two fields, okay, two variables, that is one is private and other one is public, and two methods are there, public get id and public set id. Okay, these two are public and one data member is private here. Okay, so this will be representing blueprint to create object from the class. Within the class, what are all things we have? Data members and member functions, that is fields, that is variables which represent the state or attributes of an object, and these are behavior of an objects. Okay, employee class define the fields that instances hold. Okay, so this class is defining a fields that instances hold, means each instance or object will have its own value for these fields, and methods you can invoke on instances of an employee. Okay, so objects of this class can invoke or call these methods. We'll consider creating an object. Okay, so two objects are created here. Okay, employee 1, employee 2, with the id and with the name Smith and Jones. Each instance of employee holds its own state. Okay, state is an individual value of each object. Okay, you can access that state only if the creator of the class defines it in a way that provides access to you. Okay, so when you create instance, the fields store individual and private information relevant only to the employee. This is the information contained within an employee. Employee instance is known only to that particular employee. This figure shows two instances of the class, one for the employee Smith and another one for Jones. Each instance contains information relevant to the individual employee. Okay, so within class we will have only fields and methods, that is data members, variables and methods, and from that class we will be creating instances or objects of that class. Each instance will have its own state, means its own set of values for the fields defined in the class. We'll go to the next topic, children. Children, now we will discuss principles of object-oriented programming languages, which are very important. The first principle is data abstraction. Data abstraction refers to the act of representing essential features without including background details. Okay, so here is an real-time example. Okay, you can think of ATM machine. What are all things will be represented to the user? Only the interface which is necessary to operate a ATM machine. Okay, the implementation details, okay, the design or implementation details will be hidden from the user or end user. So this is called data abstraction, so which is not necessary also. Even you can take any example, which are all, what are all devices you are having at your home, all will follow the data abstraction in real life also. You take a remote control of your television set. Okay, so you know how to operate the TV using a remote control, but the how exactly it is happening is hidden from the user. You take washing machine, microwave, oven, everything follows the data abstraction. Only the necessary essential features, means which are required to operate that device or machines, will be shown to the end user. That is data abstraction. Okay, user, if only essential features are shown to the user, that device, okay, or that machine will become user friendly. That is data abstraction, which is one of the important feature of or principle of object oriented programming language. Now we will see the next principle. Next principle is encapsulation. Encapsulation is the mechanism that binds the data and code together into a single entity. Here, data is nothing but variables, that is data numbers, and code is nothing but methods of functions. Okay, what happens when data and code, that is functions, are binded together? Okay, it keeps them. Okay, so it keeps them in data. Okay, so it keeps the data safe from outside world. Okay, preventing any unauthorized access or misuse. It also enables you to restrict access only to those features of an object that are declared public. Okay, so here access specifiers comes into picture. Okay, so all the other fields and methods which are private and cannot be used for, and can be used for only internal object processing. Okay, here this is abstraction, that is user interface, and the encapsulation is designed inside. Okay, that is implementation details. So abstraction is defined during design level, and encapsulation is done during implementation level. Okay, the overall meaning is any data to be handled through the methods of the same class only. Outside the class, private members will not be accessible. Okay, so due to this, the data in the program is safe from outside world and unauthorized access. Next principle is inheritance. Okay, now we will see what exactly inheritance. It is a property by which the class acquire the properties of another class. Okay, so here we will have minimum two class. One is existing class, and the new one which is acquiring the existing class properties. What happens? It enables classes to include properties of other classes. Okay, so with this principle, we can use the properties of existing class in a new class if necessary. Next, the class that inherits the properties is called a child class or subclass, and the class from which the properties are inherited is called a parent class or superclass. Means here existing class which is already defined is superclass, the derived class which is derived from the superclass is called as subclass. This feature also helps in reusing already defined code. So what is the advantage of inheriting properties of existing class? Consider one class is there, okay, superclass. Okay, so here you will have some properties. Okay, so if I need a new class, okay, so which will have some common properties of an existing class. Okay, so I think one more program or class I need which will have some common properties of superclass. Then instead of redefining the common properties in subclass 1 or new class 1 and new class 2, I will directly inherit the new class from existing class, so that indirectly we will be reusing the existing code in a new class without redefining or retyping it. It is also one of the important principle of the object oriented programming languages. Means with this we can extend the classes in order to reuse the existing code, that is inheritance. Now we will see the next principle. next principle is polymorphism. The word polymorphism means many forms. Okay, you know already the meaning of poly. Poly means many, more than one or more than two. Okay, so the word polymorphism means many forms. Okay, it is the ability of a function. Okay, so here function is nothing but method to acquire many forms, means the same function. Okay, here same means it will not be a single function with the same name. That is the meaning here. Okay, so function with the same name to acquire many forms. Okay, it helps in reducing the complexity of the code. Okay, so you take an example of a real-time example. Okay, you take example of yourself. When you are at school, you will be a student. Okay, so when you are at home, your child or ward for your parents. When you are playing game, you will be the player for that particular game. Okay, so you will also be playing many roles depending upon the place or what activity you are performing. Okay, so that is an example. Similarly, if you take example of a smartphone. Okay, so if you are using it for a calling or to make a call or to receive a call, that will be uh, acting as telephone or phone or smartphone. When you are clicking photograph, that will become a camera. When you are playing music, that will become a music player. Okay, so that is a real-time example. Now we will see in Java what exactly happens. Okay, polymorphism is the ability for different objects to respond differently to the same message. Okay, so whenever a method is called from the with the object, it will be responding differently according to the call. Okay, in object oriented programming language, you can define how exactly this polymorphism is achieved in the object oriented programming. Okay, by defining one or more methods with the same name. Okay, so one or more methods with the same name means two or more methods in the same class will have same name of the methods will be same. Okay, these methods can perform different actions. Okay, so different types of actions. Okay, so now we'll see with the real-time example. Okay, all of you know, or you will be saving new contact to your in your cell phone or smartphone. Okay, in your parents smartphone, you will have many fields when you want to save the phone number of your friend or relative or a new person. Okay, so create new contact. If this is the method name, here we have minimum requirement is name and number. Okay, so name of the person and his phone number. Okay, so apart from that, you will find many fields here. Okay, so not only that, you may have name, two numbers option will also be there. Okay, now you see, you may have email ID also. Okay, so here the function is same. Okay, that is method name is same, or what exactly you are doing, that is creating a new contact function, or what activity you are performing is same. So the function name is same, but the values you are passing through the object. Okay, the values you are passing are different. You are passing are different. Okay, this is implemented through the polymorphism. Okay, so with the same name, the functions will be defined for this depending upon the input. Means what are all fields you filled in the new create new contact form, accordingly the appropriate method will be invoked. Okay, so with the same method name, with the same form, if you have single number of a new person, with his name you can say, or else if he has or she has two numbers, that also you can do, and with email ID, that also you can do. Okay, so it is taking multiple forms, create contact. Okay, so this is a best example of polymorphism. With the same name, more or two or more functions will be defined within the class. Okay, so here if that is polymorphism. Okay, so here it will not be calling the different methods. Okay, function name is different, only the number of parameters or values which you are passing will be differing, or type of values will be differing. Finally you will be able to save the or create the new contact for your in your phone. Okay, that is polymorphism. Okay, so polymorphism is nothing but defining two or more methods with the same name. Okay, and these methods can perform different actions according to the definition. Whatever you are going to define here, accordingly it will define. Okay, this method will save or create contact of a person with a single phone number. Here it will create a contact with the two numbers. Okay, one more method might be there. Okay, so with two contact numbers and one email id. Okay, so all those things will be achieved by using the polymorphism, which reduces the complexity of the code. Okay, so this is the end of this first chapter. Go through the chapter and solve the chapter end questions. Thank you, children.